Good evening and welcome to NTD News. I'm Paul Greeny. Here are today's top stories. President Trump and his coronavirus task force are stepping up measures against the virus. Trump signed a relief package late last night and says more help is on the way. A Florida law firm is suing China for mishandling the virus. They say the epidemic has damaged its clients financially and physically. The list of plaintiffs is growing. Two senators unveil a draft bill to help small businesses pay their rent and keep their employees. And Tokyo gets the Olympic flame from Greece, but the arena is empty and this year's games are still in question. The president and his coronavirus task force are taking measures to offset the economic and health challenges posed by the CCP virus. Trump says more assistance is on the way.
President Trump on Thursday reassuring Americans that more help is on the way. This after signing a bill that offers sick leave and family medical leave to those affected by the virus. The president says U.S. officials could have acted more quickly if the Chinese regime had shared information about the virus sooner.
If we had known about this a number of months earlier, it could have been contained to that one area in China where it started.
In February, Chinese doctor Wenliang died from the virus after trying to warn people about the outbreak. BBC reports police in China told Li to stop making so-called false comments and investigated him for spreading rumors. The president condemned the Chinese regime for suppressing initial reports of the CCP virus.
The world is paying a very big price for not letting them come out. Everybody knows that. We all know that.
In 2018, President Trump signed the Right to Try Act. It allows terminally ill patients to receive drug treatments that have not been fully approved by the FDA. The task force is now working to implement compassionate use, which is a step beyond Right to Try. It allows patients who have exhausted other options to access experimental treatments.
The important thing about compassionate use, and that's what the president meant, this is even beyond Right to Try, is that we get to collect the information about that.
The FDA says it will then use the collected data to determine the safety and effectiveness of the treatments.
And the State Department is warning American citizens not to travel abroad. It issued its top-level travel alert today over the ongoing pandemic. The agency sent out a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory. This recommends that all U.S. citizens avoid international travel. This notice comes as part of the federal efforts to curb the virus's spread. According to the State Department's website, all citizens who live in the U.S. and are currently traveling abroad should immediately return, unless they're prepared to remain overseas indefinitely. It added that many countries are implementing travel restrictions, mandatory quarantines, and closing borders with little advance notice. The department also noted that many airlines and cruise operators are canceling international travel. And with the economic damage of the virus rising, a law firm from Florida is suing China for mishandling what has now become a pandemic. NTD's Miguel Moreno has more on the suit.
The damage has been done, but as long as the pandemic continues, businesses and people will continue to suffer. In light of the harm, a U.S. law firm is suing China for mishandling the CCP virus.
But we feel that the Chinese government knew about the disease, they knew about the virus, they did nothing to contain it, and they tried to protect their own economic self-interests and didn't disclose what they knew until it was too late and it became a widespread pandemic soon thereafter.
He said they have reason to believe that China knew that the virus was a problem before January 1st, and listed on the initial complaint are 5 plaintiffs, individuals and business owners, all having suffered somehow from the pandemic. They're expecting to add many more plaintiffs onto the suit representing different sectors of society.
We have had hundreds of calls, including people from China who have emailed us or gone onto our website and talk to us about this disease and how it's affected them.
But to prove that the regime mishandled the outbreak, Alter said they'll want certain documents and information from China, all of which can be obtained through a court order. And if China doesn't want to cooperate, the firm can ask the court to seize the regime's property, like ships coming into the U.S., to pressure them to participate. Alter said how long the case will last will ultimately depend on China.
But we won't know the extent of the damage until hopefully very soon this all passes. But once that is done, I expect it to be in the hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars that we will be seeking. Will we recover that? Again, that is up to China's participation and up to China taking responsibility for what they've done.
Alters emphasized that the suit is against the People's Republic of China, not the Chinese people. He said they believe the people of China were also misled about the virus. Miguel Moreno, NTD News, New York.
And there's debate over what the virus should be called. It originated in Wuhan, China, but the Chinese Communist Party covered it up for months and allowed it to spread around the world. The Chinese regime doesn't want people to call it the Wuhan virus or the China virus because it doesn't want to take blame for the pandemic. Now it says the virus came from America. So then, what should it be called?
The Chinese regime's propaganda arm is trying to shift the blame for the virus pandemic. It has even tried to blame the American army for bringing the virus to China.
China tried to say at one point, maybe they stopped now, that it was caused by American soldiers. That can't happen. It's not going to happen. Not as long as I'm president.
The truth is, it was the Chinese regime's cover-up and mismanagement that allowed the virus to spread throughout China and create a global pandemic. To keep this fact clear for our audience, we will now call it the CCP virus, short for Chinese Communist Party virus. We make a clear difference between the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, and the people of China, who are also victims of the regime and the virus. Under the CCP, doctors were silenced or arrested, reporting delayed, numbers covered up, and journalists expelled. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien says it probably cost the world 2 months it could have spent preparing for and preventing the spread. And now, as the global cases of infection surge above 200,000, countries with close ties to the Chinese regime are suffering the most losses. Italy was the first and only G7 country to sign on to China's One Belt, One Road initiative. Iran also has a comprehensive strategic partnership with China. And Germany's hardest hit state houses a sister city of Wuhan. Also, questions about the origin of the virus have gone unanswered. The CCP has not allowed outside experts into Wuhan, leaving the world wondering about its origin and questioning whether the virus was leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is only 20 miles from the seafood market where the CCP claimed the original cases began. Even so, the CCP is trying hard to make people forget where the virus came from, even throwing out wild charges that the United States is responsible. We use the name CCP virus to hold the Chinese Communist regime accountable and to sound an alarm for those with close ties to China.
And as lockdowns go into place, small businesses are worried for their futures. Some senators are working on a $300 billion assistance bill to help.
Small business districts across the U.S. are starting to look more like ghost towns than main destinations. Many stores are shuttered, some with signs on the doors saying they'll be closed until further notice. Business owners say things are on pause. On Wednesday, Republican Senators Marco Rubio of Florida and Susan Collins unveiled a draft bill that would provide $300 billion in help for small businesses. Rubio said he understood that most small businesses may not survive without extraordinary assistance.
But listen, the overwhelming majority of the people that are going to seek these out are going to use it for purposes of paying their employees and keeping, their rent or their lease or their mortgage up to date so they don't get evicted.
He said loans used for these purposes would become grants and not need to be paid back. Senator Susan Collins said it was important to act quickly as employees were already being laid off.
So I think that our proposal will be very effective in ensuring that jobs are there for employees once this crisis ends, and that's the purpose of it.
The loans cannot be used for pay raises for the business owners or to increase profits. The senators said they have not finished writing the legislation, but expect it to cover a 6 to 8 week period that is retroactive to March 1st.
And now that New York is able to test more people, it's seen a massive spike in confirmed cases. They doubled today and now stand at over 4,000. Governor Cuomo is now requiring 75 employees to work from home.
Is very well.
Governor Cuomo giving the latest guidance Thursday on mitigating the spread of the CCP virus, commonly known as the coronavirus. A change from yesterday about working conditions. Now he's requiring that 75% of employees from every business work from home. Still, that does not include necessary services like transportation and food. The governor reminds New Yorkers that there is no lockdown in the works, despite rumors.
I would know, right? Because I would have to authorize those actions legally. It's not going to happen.
And the state is helping with citizens' financial troubles. Cuomo announced a mortgage relief for people who aren't working or working only part-time. That means mortgage payments will be pushed back for 90 days. Even further, they're postponing or suspending home foreclosures.
That will be a real-life economic benefit. It will also be a stress reliever for many families.
He also said they will waive fees for overdrafts, ATMs, and credit cards. Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
And just how contagious is the virus? An expert says patients can spread it even after they recover. She also says the virus can survive on surfaces for days. This makes containment a challenge. NTD's Chang Chun reports.
A virologist says people can still spread coronavirus or CCP virus after they recover. Autopsy reports and studies of virus patients find the virus attacks the lungs and nerve system. It also harms people's immunity.
After patients recover, they can still be virus carriers and spread the virus. The disease can also reappear after they recover.
Dong said recovered patients can be long-term asymptomatic carriers. Without symptoms, they won't know they need to be tested.
What does it mean to really cure a patient? Did you just cure the symptoms on the surface, or has the body been really permanently cleaned of the virus?
Dong said stemming the spread of the virus is a challenge, as it can survive on surfaces for hours and even days. People infected with the virus can leave traces of it on things they've touched, like toiletries or cash. She said there could be a large number of people who are infected, but it's gone undetected. Asymptomatic infectious disease patients usually aren't contagious during the incubation period, but carriers can spread the CCP virus without displaying symptoms.
How many asymptomatic virus carriers are out there? It is an issue that people don't want to face and don't have the ability to face.
And the number of patients who've gone undetected could go up, as the accuracy of nucleic acid tests are about 50%.
Usually, people wouldn't go do the test unless they start having symptoms like fever. Of those who manifest symptoms and do the test, about 50% will test positive. So there are quite a number of infected patients that haven't been detected.
Hospitals in China discharged over 20,000 virus patients by late February, but Dong doubts if the patients have really recovered. She said the discharging standard is too low, and letting these virus carriers go back to their neighborhood plants the potential for another outbreak. Reporting by Chang Chun, NTD News, New York.
And in other news, Greece has officially handed over the Olympic flame to Tokyo ahead of the 2020 Summer Olympic Games. But due to virus fears, there's still uncertainty about whether or not the Games will actually take place. As of right now, the Games are still on, but that could change. A board member of Japan's Olympic Committee said today that they should be postponed. He said that athletes have been unable to adequately prepare as a result of the ongoing virus pandemic. But organizers have repeatedly insisted that the Games will go ahead as scheduled. Still to come. In just a matter of days, Germany has become one of the worst hit countries by the virus. We take a look at the city whose mayor once called it Germany's China City. That and more after the break.
We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. They're not out to tell you the truth of what's happening. They're out to tell you the picture of the world that they represent. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in facts, and prevent people from being misled. The Epoch Times is independent. We're not controlled by any special interests, and we never will be. The Epoch Times is a non-partisan media. That means we don't stand for any political party. This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would ensnare this country in ignorance, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. Subscribe today and join the Americans who are seeking truth and tradition. We'd love to have you on board.
Many people are demanding Chinese police release the investigation report on one of China's first whistleblowers, but authorities seem to be pushing back. Our reporter Tiffany Meyer brings us more.
Chinese authorities published on Thursday the report on the investigation of whistleblower Li Wenliang. The report indicated that the local police should not have warned Li and should withdraw the warning and hold relevant people accountable. But the report did not say who gave the right to the local police to do so in the first place and what kind of policy the central government is following. Doctors at the Wuhan Central Hospital, the same hospital that Li Wenliang worked at, are shedding new light on the communist regime's efforts to change the narrative. Li Wenliang tried to warn others about the Wuhan virus but was silenced by authorities. He later died after contracting the virus. Now, another doctor at the same hospital said in an interview with Global Times the hospital's original plan was to fire Li Wenliang. He said one of his hospital directors warned departments not to question authorities, not to wear masks, and not to spread so-called rumors, or they would be fired like Li Wenliang. In China, facial recognition technology is everywhere, and with the influx of mask wearing, the tech has also evolved. According to Xinhua News, one company, JD Digits, claims its facial recognition algorithms can achieve an accuracy rate of more than 99%, even when someone is wearing a face mask. Tencent and Hangwang Tech have also announced enhancements to their facial recognition tech. Hangwang Tech has about 200 clients in Beijing using its technology, including the Ministry of Public Security. And globally, Italy records its deadliest day of coronavirus with 475 deaths reported in one day, raising the total number of infected to over 41,000 and the death toll to over 3,000. South Korea, meanwhile, has become the model to follow in combating the virus outbreak. The World Health Organization General Director said Thursday he's willing to promote South Korea's model to other countries. He said the country developed many creative methods and strategies for combating the virus, and as a result, the number of confirmed cases in South Korea has continued to decline in recent weeks. North Korea, on the other hand, repeatedly stated no diagnoses were made in the country so far. Many question these reports. A South Korean media quoted people familiar with the matter, saying at least 3 people in North Korea who were suspected of being infected with the CCP virus were shot dead. Prince Albert of Monaco has tested positive for the CCP virus. His office said on Thursday his health is not a cause for concern, adding the 62-year-old plans to continue working from his home from the palace.
And Germany has seen a significant rise in cases over the past few days. The total now stands at over 10,000. This is more than South Korea, one of the first countries to be hit hard. NTD's Penny Zhou has more.
If we do not manage to reduce contacts among people effectively and sustainably over a period of several weeks, it is possible that we will have up to 10 million infected people in Germany in 2 to 3 months.
In Germany, the western state of North Rhine-Westphalia, or NRW, is the most severely affected. Over a third of all German cases are there. NRW is the most populous state in Germany. It also has close ties with the Chinese regime. The state is home to the largest inland port in the world, Duisburg Port. The port is a key participant in the Chinese regime's Belt and Road Initiative, China's state-backed campaign for global dominance. China's influence there is deep. The city's mayor once called it Germany's China City. Duisburg is a sister city of Wuhan, where the epidemic started. It was the first German city to form such a relationship with China way back in 1982. In this 2017 interview with Chinese state media, the mayor of Duisburg said the two cities were still closely connected.
economic relations, political and friendly communications.
The local government was also trying to strengthen relations with China.
We have close cooperation with the Confucius Institute and universities. We provide commercial buildings for Chinese enterprises to settle in Duisburg.
Attracting Chinese investment was an economic priority.
Our next plan is to open a Chinese business center in Duisburg.
Economic ties grew fast. By 2019, over 1,000 Chinese companies set up businesses in NRW. Meanwhile, over 1,000 NRW companies entered mainland China. As part of the Belt and Road Initiative, China lent money to Duisburg and helped build railways that directly connect the city to China. Every week before the virus pandemic, nearly 40 trains carrying goods from Chinese cities from Wuhan and Chongqing arrived in Duisburg.
All trains setting out from China, whether they're heading to England or Spain, would pass by Duisburg.
In 2018, the city of Duisburg signed a smart city partnership with telecom giant Huawei. The city allowed the Chinese military-linked company to build its Wi-Fi network, traffic management, and e-government cloud solutions. Ignoring concerns, it was handing over public data to a company backed by a totalitarian regime. But now the CCP virus is showing Belt and Road countries the danger of relying on the Chinese regime. According to a Reuters report, the Duisburg port said the virus had already led to a significant drop in their trading volumes. The state of NRW now has over 4,000 cases of the virus. Penny Zhou, NTD News.
And coming up, the U.S. Energy Department plans to buy billions in oil to support American energy producers. More on that after the break.
Viewers have described China Uncensored like The Daily Show, but about China.
At the beginning, I was super excited when I got 500 views, and now the show's grown to about 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. One episode reached 7.9 million people. I'm a little freaked out that that many people have seen my face. In 5 years, I see China Uncensored as the sole source of edutainment worldwide.
The U.S. Energy Department plans to buy billions of barrels of crude oil from American producers. The government wants to support America's energy industry as oil prices drop.
The Energy Department said it's purchasing 77 million barrels of crude oil. That will fill current oil reserves to the top. The purchase will help energy producers in the U.S. who are struggling financially. Both the spread of the CCP virus and the oil price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia have brought oil prices down. The purchases could bring $2.3 billion to the energy industry. The department is also planning to purchase an additional 30 million barrels from small to mid-sized producers. The oil buy would likely still need support from Congress for the funding. A Department of Energy source told Reuters the purchases can be completed within several months. The U.S. oil reserves currently have about 635 million barrels of oil. They're stored in underground salt caverns along the Gulf Coast.
People are staying home and restaurants are closed. That means more food delivery and takeout. To meet the demand, pizza delivery company Domino is looking to hire 10,000 workers. The chain needs to fill positions in both stores and factories, and includes chefs, customer service reps, and managers. Company CEO says Domino's wants to not only meet consumers' food needs, but also provide income for people who've been laid off or are temporarily out of work. Domino's share price was up more than 10% on Thursday, one of the few bright spots in the market. And as the virus outbreak shut down the Chino Valley School District's Choral Festival, but it couldn't stop the music. Some enterprising students at Chino Hills High turned to YouTube to deliver an amazing a cappella performance. The performance went viral. Their social media version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow may be bringing them more attention than if they had actually been able to compete. These Chino High chamber singers are happy to see that their YouTube video is spreading hope and cheer during this difficult time. And still to come, wolves are making a comeback in Germany, but their explosive numbers are causing concern. Find out what conservation groups have to say after the break. And in Germany, wild wolves have stirred up a heated debate. Some say there are now too many and want permission to hunt them. NTD's Germany correspondent Christian Watchen has the story.
The wolf is back. While normal in other parts of the world, in Germany, the wolf is still a novelty. He was gone for almost 100 years. Coming from Poland, over the last decades, the wild wolf population has been expanding, currently growing at over 30% per year. Many are celebrating their comeback, but with the rise in attacks on sheep and other livestock, shepherds, farmers, and horse owners are concerned that the numbers are getting out of control. Germany's largest nature conservatory organization disagrees.
So we will not have a huge amount of wolves in one area because they are strongly territorial. So they keep their borders of their territory free from other wolves.
Some now demand active wolf management. That would mean setting a limit on the population and allowing people to hunt them. Supporters point out that Germany currently has more wolves than are allowed in Sweden, Finland, and France combined. Some estimates say it's now almost 1,800 animals.
Wir können es gar nicht zulassen.
We cannot allow it at all that we reach this point where the wolf would regulate itself, so to speak. That would mean having wolves roaming all over Berlin.
Last year, over 2,000 farm animals were killed by wolves. Being a protected species, German law currently only allows shooting individual problematic wolves. The German government also helps farmers with funding fences or livestock protection dogs and compensates them for wolf attacks. Some farmers say that's not enough.
I'm pretty sure if we would focus on innovation, on trying different things, perhaps also on a different herd management, it will be possible to protect also the other sheep.
The wolf seems to mirror the German people's yearning for unspoiled nature.
Wir sollten bekennen, ja, wir wollen auch.
We should declare, yes, we want to have wolves again in Germany. And then you just have to start to deal with the wolf in a sober way, like most countries in the world do, where wolves have always been around.
While most Germans support the wolf's return, some in the countryside have not yet fully accepted them. Reporting by Christian Watchen, NTD News, Berlin.
And that's all for today's news. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paul Greeny.